So starting here with an awareness of the support you feel beneath you, the firmness of the floor, the firmness of any prop that you might be sitting on. You can feel a sense of the space around you. Maybe take a moment to set this particular space and this particular time aside for your practice. I know for myself, practicing at home is challenging because there's no sense of boundary. And so creating this ritual of arriving on your mat, arriving in your body, arriving in your practice is really important when we come into setting aside home yoga practice space and time. So this next hour is for your practice, for concentrated attention, and for breath. You can turn your attention now to your breath and just notice at first. Noticing the length of your inhalations, the length of your exhalations, the relative depth, the relative ease. And after a round or two of breath, you might notice that one part of your breath feels a little more natural or a little longer or a little easier. So if you notice that, shift your attention to the phase of your breath that feels a little shorter. And then you'll invite that shorter phase to lengthen. So just by shifting your attention, encourage the shorter phase of your breath to lengthen and match the longer. And then once your breath feels even, if you're familiar with the practice of Ujjayi Pranayama, bring yourself into your Ujjayi breath now. So your tongue can rest lightly behind your top two front teeth. You'll slightly lower your chin, slightly lift your soft palate. We'll start to create the sound of a whisper at the back of your throat. And you'll notice that creating this whispering sound now extends your breath even more. It creates a little bit of control, a little bit of intensity. And now we can count. Let's count how long it takes to inhale and how long it takes to exhale. And maybe it's something like a count of 4 or 5. And so with your next cycle of breath, see if you could extend that count. You could either slow the count down if you like the number you're working with, or you could add 1 or 2 to the count. So inviting the breath to be a little longer. And it might be interesting to inhale from the bottom of your lungs to the top. Feel yourself filling up from bottom to top. And exhale from top to bottom. So you're using your entire lung capacity. And when you find this maximum breath that you're working with, finding a count that suits you, a pace that suits you, and a breath that is longer than you would breathe out of habit, begin to extend the pauses between your breaths too. So if you're working with a count of 5, you'll inhale for a count of 5. You'll pause for a count of 5. You'll exhale for a count of 5 and pause for a count of 5. So inhale for 5, pause for 5, exhale for 5, and pause for 5. Take one more round of this breath seated. Inhaling, pausing, exhaling, pausing. With your next inhalation, take a big inhalation in through your nose. And let it out with an audible sigh through your mouth, completely empty. And then reestablish an Ujjayi breath rhythm that feels like a rhythm you could move to. So a steady breath, a little longer than you would breathe out of habit. Strong and steady, the inhalation flowing into the exhalation flowing into the inhalation. When you feel ready to move, you can find your way to stand at the top of your mat. Let's move through 3 rounds each of Surya Namaskar A and Surya Namaskar B. You are welcome to step your feet to touch if that's comfortable to you. This would be the traditional Ashtanga stance, Samasthiti, equal standing pose, with bases of big toes on the flesh of your heels touching your ankles just a little bit apart. It may also feel better to have your feet the width of your hips. So choose the stance that feels best to you. We'll find our standing pose. We'll find our strong and steady breath and begin to move with it. The next inhalation floats your arms up overhead. Your exhalation will take you to Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Feel free to bend your knees so you're spilling your pelvis around the top of your thigh bones. Full forward fold. Your inhalation lengthens your spine and lifts you halfway up. When you exhale, you'll plant your hands, step your feet back, find a plank pose, and then lower all the way to your belly for this first round. Nice, so come all the way down to your belly. Beautiful, hands will be under your shoulders. As you inhale, lift to cobra. Fronts of your shoulders draw back, heart drives forward and up. Maybe a little weight in your hands as you ground. Exhale to lower. You'll inhale up to hands and knees. And when you exhale, press your way back to downward facing dog. Let's take some time in the downward facing dog, creating a few self adjustments. So you can first look up at your hands and check in. You want your index fingers pointed to the front of your mat, hands about the width of your shoulders, fingers spread. Take a look back at your feet. We want our feet about the width of our hips. And a little internal rotation in your upper thighs so the midline of your foot is parallel to the center of your mat, rather than the inner edges of your feet being parallel. So that means your heels will be just a little farther apart than the bases of your big toes. Try bending your knees here. Unlock your knees. Yeah, that was beautiful. Sitting bones will tilt up any little bit more. Yes, thigh bones will move back. Collect your front ribs. Front ribs heading in, back ribs expand a little. That was gorgeous. And now maybe legs re-extend. There's a sense of lengthening from the back of your knee up to your sit bones, from the back of your knee down to your heel. Let your heels get heavy as your hips continue to lift. We've got one more breath here. You guys look amazing. With your next exhalation, you'll bend your knees, look forward, and feet can move to your hands, walking or stepping or floating. Half forward fold on the in-breath, long in the front of your spine. Full forward fold with the out-breath. Your next inhalation lifts from the back of your heart and floats you all the way up to standing. Arms reach, look up. Exhale, looking straight ahead as your arms float down by your side, Samasthiti. And go again. Inhale, Ujjayi inhalation reaches your arms overhead. Exhale, hinging at your hips, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift halfway up, keeping your crown reaching away from your hips. Plant your hands, step your feet back. This time when you lower, consider Chaturanga. So you'll hug your elbows in by your sides, rock forward in your toes, shift forward and pause, elbows, shoulders, and hips all the same height. With your in-breath, heart draws forward, lift. Gorgeous. Exhale, press it back, downward facing dog. We'll settle in for 5 breaths in downward facing dog. And there's always an opportunity when we come to downward facing dog in the Surya Namaskar series. You can always check. Take a look at your hands. Take a look at your feet. Check in with the sensations you feel in your body. And adjust, but adjust in a way that's intentional. I know I find when I come into down dog, I have like habitual ways that I always fidget, whether I need to or not. So it's interesting to pause and watch myself do that, or maybe try to stop myself from doing those little fidgets, and just see what adjustments would be helpful to me. Make them intentional and intelligent. We've got 2 more breaths here. And at the end of your next exhalation, knees bend, sit bones lift. You can look forward between your hands, walk or step or float. Beautiful, feet to your hands. Full forward fold with the exhalation. Inhale to rise. Exhale, Samasthiti. One more round. Let's inhale, float arms up. Exhale to fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, half forward fold. Exhale, take your feet back. If you would like to jump, land in your Chaturanga. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate that this afternoon, but you would land with elbows bent and core strong. Lowering to Chaturanga, nice. Inhaling, let your heart lead through to upward facing dog. Beautiful. Upper arms draw back. Exhale, downward facing dog. So 5 long, steady breaths here. I invite you to check in with your jaw and with your neck. I know for myself in this pose, I'll sometimes lift my head and kind of look towards my feet or even towards the floor. And that's tension I don't need to be holding. So you can allow your chin to soften to the hollow at the top of your breastbone. You can allow your jaw to soften, finding a little space between your back teeth. And maybe lift your gaze towards your thighs or even all the way up towards your navel. Oh, lovely. One more breath. You can bend your knees, look forward, and move your feet to your hands, walking or stepping or floating. Half forward fold, full forward fold with your exhalation. Inhale, floating up with that buoyancy at the back of your heart. Exhale, hands can come down by your sides, equal standing pose. All right, Surya Namaskar B, moving to Utkatasana. So we'll take the inner edges of our feet to touch if they're not already there. And we allow the tops of our shin bones to slide forward as we root down through our heels and take the tops of the thigh bones back. So now we'll think about lifting through the pelvic floor, lifting through the belly, drawing front ribs in, extending from tips of shoulder blades all the way up to fingertips. Maybe your palms can come together overhead. Mine aren't going to do that today. So I'm going to take my arms out a little bit in front of me. As I glance down, it's great if I can see my big toes here. So I got my weight back. I'm hugging in. I'm lengthening up. One more breath. With the exhalation, hands part, dive forward into Uttanasana, standing forward fold. I'll inhale halfway up. Exhale through the vinyasa, stepping or floating. If you choose to float, land fully in your Chaturanga, nice and strong. You'll inhale through upward facing dog. Gorgeous. Exhale to downward facing dog. And with that same exhalation, step your right foot forward. The right foot lands between your hands. Left heel pivots to the mat. You can inhale, sweep your arms up, Virabhadrasana 1. As we anchor the left heel, right knee slides forward, and we create extension from below back to fingertips. Your exhalation will take you all the way through to Chaturanga, so hands reach for the floor, step back, lower in control. Inhale to upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. And that same exhalation takes your left foot forward. Right heel pivots and plants to the mat. We're anchoring the right heel as the left thigh slides forward, and we can create extension from low back all the way up through fingertips. With your exhalation, reach for the floor, and that out breath takes you all the way to a nice, slow, controlled Chaturanga. Upward facing dog, beautiful. Exhale, downward facing dog. And settle in. We'll take 5 breaths in this round of downward facing dog. If at any point downward dog does not feel like a place you want to hang out, you can always come down to a child's pose. You can come to a half dog, lowering to your knees and keeping your arms extended. You can come to a dolphin pose, coming down onto your forearms. If down dog is feeling like where you want to stay, you've got about 2 breaths left. At the end of this next exhalation, you can bend your knees and look forward. You'll move your feet to your hands, half forward fold. Full forward fold with your exhalation. Inner edges of your feet are touching. Ankle bones are just a little bit apart. Bend your knees, reach up, Utkatasana. As you exhale, legs extend, arms release, Sadhasthiti. Go again, knees bend, reach your fingers down and up. Find your chair. Weight is back in the front of your heel bones. Let's exhale and fold to Uttanasana. Inhale, lifting halfway up. And exhale through your vinyasa, stepping or floating back to Chaturanga. and upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Same breath, right foot forward. Left heel pivots and plants. Let's slide the right thigh forward, anchor the left heel, left thigh is lifting, reach up. Exhale through vinyasa, reaching for the floor and lowering in control to chaturanga. And upward facing dog. And downward facing dog, the left foot will step. Your in-breath lifts you to Virabhadrasana 1. We've got the right heel anchored, the left knee sliding forward, and we're lifting from the support of our legs. Exhale through the flow, back to chaturanga, nice and controlled. Chaturanga gets that whole exhalation. Upward facing dog on the in-breath. Downward facing dog on the out-breath. And settle here. Again, if you need to choose a different posture to pause in Surya Namaskar B, be welcome to choose a different posture. If downward facing dog feels like a good place for you to be, hang out here for 3 more breaths. And at the end of your next exhalation, you can bend your knees, look forward, feet will move to your hands, half forward fold, full forward fold with the exhalation. We'll inhale, knees and ankles bend, reach up, hug your belly in, strong core here. And extend your legs, release your arms, Samasthiti. Last round, inhale, bend your knees, reach down, reach up, Utkatasana. Exhale and forward fold, Uttanasana. We'll inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, and exhale through Vinyasa. Back to Chaturanga. Upward dog on the in-breath. Downward dog on the out-breath. Right foot steps forward, left heel plants. Inhale, long breath here, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale, take it through the Vinyasa. Back to Chaturanga. Pause in your Chaturanga. Inhale through the upward dog. Exhale to downward dog, same breath, takes your left foot forward. We'll plant the right heel, reach up, Virabhadrasana 1. And exhale through the Vinyasa, down to Chaturanga in control, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And be here, 5 slow breaths. Maybe these breaths are even slower than the ones that we've taken so far. A little more Ujjayi control, a little more sound, a little more intensity, a little more discipline. Beautiful. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll bend your knees, look forward, move your feet to your hands. Take your half forward fold really long on your inhalation, full forward fold on your exhalation. Bend your knees or reach up, Utkatasana on the in-breath. Exhale, extend your legs, release your arms, Samasthiti. Lovely. Let's take our feet to the width of our hips. We'll let our knees bend just a little bit. So feet hip width apart, midlines of your feet are parallel, knees are unlocked, but your quads are firm. And as you firm your quads, that means you'll release your hamstrings. It's called reciprocal inhibition. When you work the muscle on one side of the joint, the muscle on the opposite side relaxes. So if we can firm the front of our legs as we forward fold, we'll get a deeper forward fold. Hinging your pelvis around the tops of your femurs. Hinge forward and reach for your big toes. Maybe you can slip index finger and middle finger between big toe and second toe, and then wrap your thumb around. I can only demonstrate on one side, but maybe you can hook your toes. And as you inhale, you'll take your hips back and your heart forward. As you exhale, you can draw yourself deeper into the forward fold. And as you fold, notice where your weight is. You guys actually look really good. There's sometimes a tendency in this pose to drop your weight back in your heels. And we want to keep our hips right over our ankles, pressing down into the bases of our big toes. And that's what you guys are doing, which is fantastic. Stay with it for 2 more breaths. Maybe you can think about lengthening your back of your legs a little bit more. Maybe you can think about lifting your kneecaps a little bit more. With your next inhalation, you can release your big toes, lift halfway up. When you exhale again, come a little deeper, and maybe this time you can slide the palm of your hand right underneath the sole of your foot. So your toes would come to the crease of your wrist. Now the palm of your hand under the sole of your foot, if you can. If that's not available, you can stay with Padangusthasana, grabbing your big toes, or you can grab the backs of your ankles. But if you can get your hand right under your foot, go there. And then again, we're letting the weight shift a little forward. We're feeling the sense of almost widening thigh bones out to the sides of our mats. As sitting bones lift, as belly hollows, as we draw ourselves deeper into the forward fold. Let's take one more exhalation. As you inhale, you'll lift halfway up, release your hands from under your feet. Exhale, bend your knees a little, hands to your hips. Inhale, stand all the way up. And we'll return to Samasthiti. So you'll bring your feet back to touch. Take a moment. Notice what this feels like. Lovely. So let's ground down now into the left foot. Step right foot back, about a leg length behind you. And then we'll turn all the way around to face the back of your mat. So we're now pointing right toes to the short edge of your mat. You're kicking your left heel out to the side. Hips can turn a little bit. We're moving into extended triangle pose, Untitled Konasana. So front ribs are hugging in. You're rotating your ribcage around to the left. We're sending the ribs to the left, torso to the right. Reach, reach, reach. We're hinging around the head of the right femur. And then right hand reaches down, and maybe it touches somewhere on your right leg. Maybe you can hook index finger and middle finger between big toe and second toe. Maybe left arm reaches up. Nice. That's it. Looks good. It's awkward to have your back to the camera, but it looks good. So let's think about now extending right sitting bone up and away from right heel. Let's think about extending the right side of the waist a little bit. And notice if you are compromising the length of your spine in order to reach your right foot. So maybe lift up out of the pose a little bit. Get some more length in your spine. Take your shoulders back a little. And then come laterally without bending. That looks fantastic. Yes. Inhale, you'll stand all the way up. Both arms extend out to the side. Turn your feet. We're pointing left toes to the left side of the mat now. So you've got left toes pointing to the short edge. Right heel kicks out to the side. Hips to the right. Torso to the left. Reaching. Untitled Konasana on the other side. It means extended triangle pose. We've got extension in our legs, we've got extension in our spine, we've got extension in our arms. Maybe our gaze turns up towards the top hand, but not at the expense of our neck. So if your neck is unhappy, look straight ahead or look down. You can think about taking your head back, almost like there's a headrest behind you. Nice. Let's inhale, reach up strongly through the right hand. Now turn your feet. So if you got your back to the camera, you might want to flip around. Beautiful, that looks great. Now I can see your face. That makes me happy. All right, so we're going to kick our heels slightly out, toes slightly in, moving through the Prasarita Baddha Konasana series. Prasarita means widespread, padas are feet. So this is the widespread standing forward fold series. Feet about the length of one of your legs apart. If your hamstrings are really bendy, you'll move your feet in closer. If your hamstrings are a little tight, you'll move your feet out wider. So we'll take a moment here, hands on our hips, draw shoulders and elbows back, lift your heart, lift your gaze, exhale, hinge forward. Like all of our fixed frame standing forward folds here, we're spilling the pelvis around the femurs. So our legs are in place and the pelvis and spine are moving. Spilling pelvis forward. You'll place your hands on the point of an equilateral triangle. So you've got one hand back underneath your elbow, other hand back underneath your elbow, can't demonstrate that side. Maybe your head forms the third point of the triangle. You hug your elbows in, so elbows, wrists, and shoulders are all the same distance apart. You might even be able to brush the crown of your head to the floor between your feet. We'll take one more exhalation here. As you inhale, lift halfway up. We'll exhale, Hug your belly in, strong core, hands to your hips. Inhale, stand all the way up. We'll take our arms out to the side. When you exhale, hands come back to your hips. Elbows draw back, forward fold. This time, hands stay on your hips. So we're using the strength of our upper back here to draw the elbows back. You can kind of bring your fingers to the inside of the pelvic bowl here and give yourself a little hip massage. We're using a little core strength now to draw ourselves into the forward fold. You may notice that there's a tendency to kind of drop onto the outer edges of your feet here. I noticed that in myself. So it would be helpful for me to activate the outside of my foot, to my outer ankle, to my outer knee, to my sitting bones. You may have the opposite thing going on. You may have your inner arches collapsing. You may need to go the opposite direction. Maybe you're nicely centered and you can look from the center of your heel all the way up to the center of your knee, to the center of your hip. Let's inhale. From this variation, we draw our elbows back and inhale on one big movement. Take the arms out to the side. Exhale, interlace your fingers behind your back. So I won't be able to demonstrate this variation, but your fingers come back behind you. They interlace. If that's not available, you can hold a strap. Make contact between our hands. I might be able to do this one with a strap. So inhale, shoulders roll back. Exhale, hinge, and you'll lift your arms off your sacrum. And let them drop back. It's as if you could bring the crown of your head to the floor and bring your arms to the floor behind you. Next inhalation, we'll reach up through your fists, bring you all the way up to standing. One big breath, arms release. Last variation of Baddha Konasana, variation D, we reach for the big toes. So let's take our hands back to our hips. Inhale, roll elbows back, lift heart. Exhale, hinge forward. And now we're trying to hook Padangushtha again, hook big toe. Index finger and middle finger between big toe and second toe. Take an inhalation for length. Exhale and fold, and elbows can bend out to the side here as you bring your shoulder blades nice and flat on your back. So let's inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, you can release your Padangusthas, hands back to your hips. Inhale, stand all the way up. We'll step or hop feet together. And traditionally, we'd come back to stand at the front of your mat. If you want to stay facing the camera, you've got your mat like mine, oriented perpendicular to the direction of the camera. You can stay here. We're going to come to extended hands to big toe poses. So Untitled Hasta Padangusthasana. I just like saying it. All right, so variation 1, standing on your left foot. You can pick up your right foot and just hang onto the back of your knee, and then start to reach out through the ball of your foot. You could also, since we have our straps, loop your strap around the ball of your right foot and reach out this way. So this could be your pose. If you can reach all the way to your big toe, you are welcome to reach down, hook your big toe, plug in palm to shoulder, and start to work this leg towards straight. Lovely, all right. So if you're able to easily extend your leg, you can try coming into it this way, kicking up and grabbing the toe. Yeah, gorgeous. Steady in your breath. We've got 2 more breaths here. Untitled Hasta Padangusthasana. All right, Untitled Hasta Padangusthasana variation B. We bring the right foot out to the side. So it's an external rotation in the hip. Swing your foot out to the side and notice if you're tipping over to the left or if the head of your left femur popped out to the left. Hug everything in. Try to stay balanced. A little extra challenge if you like, look over your left shoulder. I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that today. All right, we'll bring this foot back in. Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana C. Bend your elbow, lift the leg as high as you can, and bow. Nice. All right, and let it go. Hold your leg up, 5 breaths. Each exhalation, maybe you can lift it a little higher. Fantastic. You got 2 breaths left. And exhale, lower. Samasthiti. Beautiful other side. So we'll root down to the right foot. We'll pick up the left. And maybe you just hook the back of the knee and start to extend. Maybe you loop your strap and extend that way. Maybe you hook the big toe and extend that way. Holding here. Don't know if I can do it on this side. Let's see. Staying with your breath. You've got 2 breaths left here. Fantastic work. We might do this a little backwards this time. All right, opening the leg out to the side. All right, bring your foot back in. Let's lift it as high as we can. Hold on to number 2. Lift it as high as you can. Bow over the raised leg. And then let it go. Hold it there. 5 breaths. Nice. Exhale. You can release your foot. Let's let our arms come down by our sides. Equal standing pose. Step to the top of your mat if you are not already there. And we'll inhale. Take arms up overhead. Exhale. Fold. Uttanasana. You can inhale, lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, plant your hands, step or float through Vinyasa. Back to Chaturanga. And upward facing dog. And downward facing dog. Right foot will step forward. Left heel pivots and plants to the mat. Anchor your left heel, slide your right thigh forward, reach up. Virabhadrasana 1, hold it, 5 breaths. You might even activate your hamstrings here, pulling yourself a little deeper into the pose. Notice what's going on in your left heel. Keep it anchored. And then notice what's going on the left side of your tailbone. Open up a little space between your left thigh bone and the left side of your tailbone. You've got 1 more breath here. Next exhalation, take it to Virabhadrasana 2. So you may find yourself inching your feet slightly farther apart. Let the arms come out to the side. Drawing into second warrior. Nice. And again, we can activate hamstrings here. Maybe activating heels towards each other, zipping up our legs, lowering slightly deeper into the pose. You can inhale, straighten your right leg, turn your feet straight into Virabhadrasana 2 on the other side. Sliding into the pose. Gorgeous. Just take a moment to glance down at your left knee and your left big toe. I say this because I just noticed myself getting lazy and collapsing my left knee in. So I need to zip up on the outside of my left leg and press into my left big toe. All right, next inhalation, pivot again, Virabhadrasana 1 to the left. So you'll turn your heel, lift your heart. We'll take 5 breaths here. With your exhalation, reach for the floor and flow it through Vinyasa, Chaturanga, upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Settle in your downward dog. We'll come from downward facing dog to Dandasana, staff pose. So get there in the way that you're able to get there. If you have a jump through, you're welcome to do a jump through. If you'd like to jump and just cross your ankles behind your wrists and sit down, you can go there. If you'd like to just come to your knees and swing your feet out in front of you, that works too. All right, so coming to our staff pose. Get the bases of your big toes together. And you walk your sit bones back a little bit, and you'll press into whatever you're sitting on. So if you're sitting on the mat, you'll press down into the mat with the palms of your hands. If you've got your hips elevated, you could press down into whatever it is you're sitting on. If you find that you're rocking back and rounding, needing to kind of curl your spine to stay upright, try bending your knees a little to release your hamstrings. We'll think about drawing shoulders back, pressing down, lifting heart, lifting head. And this is a really interesting place to pay attention to breath and to pay attention to those little internal muscular and energetic movements called bandhas. So actually take a little muscular lift, but it's also an energetic container. We think about lifting the muscles between the sitting bones, Mula Bandha. We think about lifting the muscles around the navel up into the rib cage, Uddiyana Bandha. We think about lifting the roof of the mouth up and back as your ears slide back, Jalandhara Bandha. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And take 1 more big inhalation, sit tall. With your exhalation, we're going to narrow this angle at the hip. So we're, again, spilling the pelvis forward, hinging forward. We're headed to Paschimottanasana. That might mean putting hands behind you and pressing fingers into the floor. It might mean you can reach forward and get a hold of the backs of your knees or your ankles. You could loop your strap. This is a great time to grab your strap. You could reach to the outer edges of your feet. You could reach for your big toes. If you're feeling pretty bendy, you could reach beyond your toes, put the palm of your hand on the sole of your foot. Nice. Let's take 1 more exhalation. As you inhale, you can sit tall. We've got a couple of options here. If you like jumping forward and jumping back, you could throw a vinyasa in here. I'm obviously not going to be demonstrating that. You can also try just crossing your ankles, having your shins in, and curling yourself into a nice tight ball, trying to balance on your hips. Just hold here for a moment. Re-extend your legs. Nice job. Purva Konasana. And again, I won't be able to demonstrate this one. This is the upward staff pose, or upward, upward staff pose. So you'll take your hands behind your back, lift your heart, look up. Maybe this is your pose. Maybe you bend your knees, lift your hips tabletop. Maybe you do this with legs straight, which I won't be able to demonstrate with my wrist in this condition, but you might be able to do it with legs extended out straight, rolling the soles of your feet to the floor and lifting your heart. There it is, that's it. Nice. Yes. Nice and strong in your legs. There's a sense of squeezing the inner thighs in, of lifting the sides of the pelvis. Try 1 more breath here. Exhale, lower your hips. And once more, maybe you flow through a vinyasa. Maybe you just do that little trick of hugging your knees in, balancing, being strong, and extending your legs. All right, coming here, legs extended, moving to Janu Shirshasana. So we'll take the right foot. I'll turn this way so you can see my right leg. We'll take the right foot, put the sole of the right foot in your left upper inner thigh, which you could see if the whole screen was not blocked by a giant tuxedo cat. They're totally like the stars of the show today. All right. So we got left leg straight, right leg bent, sole of right foot on left upper inner thigh. We'll walk our sitting bones back a little bit and then turn spine towards left leg. And as you turn, watch your toes. I know for me, it always goes like this because I've got some tightness in my outer hip. So I find my toes roll out, and I need to really focus on some internal rotation here. So inhale, sit tall, toes pointing to the ceiling. Exhale, hinge forward. Maybe we're using the strap. Maybe you're reaching with your hands. Maybe you can reach beyond your foot and encircle your right wrist with your left thumb and middle finger. Bowing over the left leg. Eventually your spine can round. And even though this pose is called head to knee pose, think about it more like chin to shin pose. See if you can extend your spine even longer than head to knee. And if you're moving into the more advanced variations of this pose, back of your neck will stay long, but maybe you can lift your gaze up towards your toes. Let's take one more exhalation here. You can inhale, sit yourself up tall, extend your right leg, bend your left. Same pose, other side. So we'll take a left foot to right upper inner thigh, and take a moment to situate our hips, rocking our right hip back, tipping forward, turning towards your right leg, checking with your right toes. Sometimes this action of turning towards the right leg means the right toes turn out to the right too. So an internal rotation in your right leg. Then we'll hinge forward, reach forward. Maybe you've got a hold of your foot, maybe you've got your strap. Bowing over your right leg. And eventually it might feel correct to let your forehead melt down towards your shin. That feels okay in your low back, you can go there. But let's think about this being chin to shin pose, even more than head to knee pose. So it's not about rounding and compressing towards your knee, but it's about hinging in your hip and keeping extension in your spine for as long as possible. Eventually you might even lift your gaze towards your right big toe. Let's inhale, sit all the way upright. You can once more cross your ankles, hug your knees in, balance. Re-extend your legs. So now let's take the left leg out straight, right knee bends. You can bring the sole of your right foot about a hand's breadth from your left upper inner thigh. We'll just take a moment to sit tall, hug this knee. And with an exhalation, we'll turn this into a twist towards the right leg. So maybe you'll hug your right knee with your left arm and take your right hand back behind you. Maybe you're able to get your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. Maybe you're able to plant your right hand on the floor behind you and twist a little more deeply. If you are comfortable with the bind, you could go in that direction, turning your left thumb down and reaching around your leg. I can't demonstrate that tonight. But let's think about the spine rotating. Whatever it takes to create a beautiful, smooth, interesting, and effective spiral from your sacrum to the crown of your head. It can be really interesting coming into these deep twists to now pay attention to your breath and come back to your really slow, deep breath. Inhaling from bottom to top, exhaling from top to bottom, and maybe winding deeper with the out breath. As you inhale, you can release that twist. We'll extend the right leg. We'll bend the left. Sit tall. Exhale, twist, twisting left. Belly turns and ribs turn, chest and shoulders. Maybe you support yourself from behind with your left hand. Maybe your right elbow comes to the outside of your left knee. Or maybe you just hug the left shin. With your next inhalation, you'll unwind, unbind, come back to extend both legs. And then again, bend your knees, cross your ankles, hug your belly in, find your balance. All right, so from here, let's take our toes to the mat. Knees pointing up. Belly's hugging in. See if you can be on the front of your sit bones here. So it's easy to kind of collapse your boat. Let's think about getting a little bit buoyant in the chest. Being on the front of the sit bones. Maybe rock back. Maybe feet float. Maybe legs extend. Maybe arms extend. Nice, try one more breath. Exhale, bend your knees. Give yourself a hug. Let your spine sit tall. And let's extend our legs out in front of us. Beautiful. From here, let's take the soles of our feet together. Knees will drop out to the side. I've got all sorts of helpers. Cats and chihuahuas. All right, so Baddha Konasana. So this feels good. You guys look pretty good and pretty comfortable in this position. So if you're comfortable just sitting on the floor, stay here. I sometimes like to give myself a little lift under my hips, especially if I feel like I'm sort of rocking back. So you could give that a shot if you like. Not essential because you both have your knees lower than the top rim of your pelvis. But it can feel nice to lift your hips up a little bit, drop your knees down a little bit more, and really encourage this forward tipping of the pelvis. You can press into your heels and then start to hinge forward. So a hinge forward from the hips, spine long, and then at the end of the exhalation, you could round. You're welcome to cup your feet with your hands. You're welcome to put your hands out in front of you. As we're starting to slow our practice down a little bit now, let's lengthen our breath. So maybe adding a count to the length of inhalations and exhalations. Maybe simply slowing the count down. Nice. Let's inhale, walk our way upright. You can unfold your legs, keep them out straight. We'll just kind of rock our toes side to side for a moment. Let's take right shin parallel to the front edge of your mat. Try crossing the left ankle on top of right knee. So this is not strictly a part of the Ashtanga practice, but it is one of my favorite hip openers. And it's a really lovely preparation for Lotus Pose. So stacking legs one on top of the other, Agni Sambhasana, fire log pose. We'll keep our feet flexed to stabilize our knees. And we could be right here. Maybe this is enough rotation, just sitting upright. If you want a little bit more, you can start to hinge forward. If you want a little bit more, you can scoot your hips back away from your shins. We're bowing forward over our legs. Legs are in external rotation. Nice. As we come into this pose, check in with what's going on in your jaw and in your teeth and in your face. Sometimes when we get into the intensity of this hip extend or this hip rotation, we tense in our jaw, we tense in our neck, and that transfers tension down into our hips. So let's see if we can soften face, soften the root of our tongue, and in so doing, soften our hips a little bit. And with your next inhalation, you're going to walk your way upright. Let's change the cross of our legs. You can take your left shin parallel to the front edge of our mat. You can take your right ankle just to the outside of left knee, stacking your shins one on top of the other like logs in a fire, Agni Sambhasana, and start to hinge this forward. Bowing forward over your crossed legs, beautiful. So let's inhale, walk our way up and out of that pose. You can unfold your legs, maybe circle your ankles, give your legs a shake. And coming into a final comfortable seated posture just for a few moments of meditation before Shavasana. So in a traditional Ashtanga practice, we'd be coming into Lotus Pose here. If Lotus is in your repertoire, feel free to come into a full Lotus. You could come into a half Lotus, taking one foot into the Lotus position and tucking the other ankle underneath. You could come into Sukhasana, just crossing your ankles. You could come into Siddhasana, lining one foot in front of the other, Baddha Konasana. But finding your comfortable seated meditation posture. And we'll extend our arms, backs of our hands come to our knees. Shoulders draw back, and you can take thumb and index fingers to touch. Gyan Mudra, mudra of wisdom. And in this position, coming back to an awareness of your experience. Consciously noticing the support of the earth beneath you. Consciously aware of the space around you. Consciously aware of the sensations you feel throughout your body. Aware of your posture and any tension you might be holding that you don't need to. And then shifting attention to your breath. Noticing breath as it moves up and down the front of your spine. So our spines form the central support of our body. And in our energy body, there's an analog to the spine. The analog to the spine in our energy body is called the Sushumna. It's the primary energy channel, and it runs along the front of your spine. So let's let our attention roll up and down the length of that energy channel. Noticing the steady and slow rhythm of breath. With each breath cycle, perhaps lengthening the breath. And if it feels reasonable and interesting to you, perhaps inviting the pauses to match the length of the breaths themselves. So for your next few breath cycles, inhalation and pause, the exhalation and pause are all the same length. When you complete your next cycle of this breath, you can release the mudra in your hands, you can release the posture in your legs. Arrange yourself on your mats and roll down onto your back. Get as comfortable as you can. We're ready for Shavasana. So letting go of all of the work of this practice now. Finding a position in which you can completely rest and surrender. And now there's no more need to control your breath. There is no more need to work in your body. You can surrender into the support of the earth a little bit more with each exhalation. Just trusting that this shape is the most nourishing shape for you to be in right now. Trusting that you are receiving all of the benefits of the practice you've just completed. And now gently disturbing your relaxation as little as possible. Tune back into your breath and gradually begin to expand and extend your breath. Deeper exhalations create more space. They clear away everything we've loosened and burned up with this practice. Deeper inhalations fill your body with vitality, with prana, life force. And gradually, your deepening breath and expanding energy will bring a desire to move. When you're ready to move, honor it. You can wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, start to move your hands and feet, start to move your arms and legs. Gradually find your way back to life. And somewhere in your next few breaths, you'll make your way over to one side. You can pause there for just a few moments. It's a chance to make your transition out of deep relaxation. When you're ready to come up to sitting, use the strength of your arms, help yourself up, and find a comfortable seat. Beautiful. So settling back into your comfortable seat, settling back into an awareness of place and of space, of the sensations in your body and of the activity of your mind. We'll bring our hands to Anjali Mudra, one palm against the other. Thumbs will rest at your breastbone, gesture of greeting and of gratitude and of respect. We'll close our time together with the sound of Om. You are welcome to chant from wherever you are. You are welcome to sit and listen if that feels better to you. But if you'd like to join me, we'll inhale and begin. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Have a marvelous rest of your day. Namaste. Nice work. Thanks for being here.